If you ever have the feeling that life is complicated, you should go do a pull-up. Pull-ups are the ultimate test of reality. I pull, therefore I am, okay? Any relativity, any ideas that this is a simulation, all that vanishes once you're hanging from a bar, and the only thing you have to do is pull yourself up full body weight with your muscles. At that moment, there's only one thing that matters. Can you pull yourself up or can you not? There is no buts, ifs, perhaps, chances, nothing. It's just reality. Cold, unapologetic, unfathomable reality just knocking at your door. It's the same thing as fasting. When you get hit by one of those hunger waves, deep into a 24-hour fast, man, the only thing that matters is, are you strong enough to keep going, or are you bending the knee? Are you strong enough to pull yourself up, or are you coming down from the bar, putting one of those elastic bands and or going into a lat pull down machine because you cannot lift your own body weight? That's the only thing that matters. And don't come with me with, oh, I'm too heavy for that. Dude, I am 200-ish pounds, okay? And I can do 8 chin-ups. That was one of my most recent accomplishments. And it's really funny because when I started working out, the reason I started working out, man, is we were at PE, gym class, back in school, and we had like a physical test once every 3 months or something. I went there, and I was able to do, it was like sit-ups, push-ups, and some like agility or flexibility stuff, right? So I was able to go and do glorious 3 push-ups. Okay, I was a 14-year-old, chubby little kid. Fair. 3 push-ups. I was ashamed. I brushed it off because I was too cool. I thought myself being too cool for that shit. It's like, ha ha ha, look how funny I can only do 3. But it's like, that shit hurt me, man. That shit hurt me. That hurted my little ego. That made me feel like a bitch. All the other guys, some of the other guys could do there's this other dude, built motherfucker, at 14 years old. I don't fucking know how. He did 20. And I was like, that kind of got to me. I was like, oh man, I don't like this. I want to become hotter for the ladies. So I started working out. Pull-ups were always a weak spot of mine, man. Always a weak point. Always something I struggled with. I was always heavier. So on the past 4 months, I went from 1 or 2 to 8 chin-ups. And it feels just fucking amazing. It's like you're conquering the world. You feel like a freaking Coliseum champion. Just taking the head out of your last enemy and showing it. The crowd goes ah! And the emperor's thumbs up, buddy. And it's fucking fantastic. So that's all that matters. Pull-ups are reality knocking. There's no escaping your lack of strength when you are at that bar. And the only thing that matters is, are you strong enough? The same thing with fasting, right? So fasting was seen, if you get the old text, the first Christians, for example, they saw fasting as a human necessity. They wrote it like that. Fasting is a human necessity. As much as you need to eat, you need to fast. And I was like, that's really interesting, man, because we're eating all the fucking time nowadays, right? Everyone's eating all the time. You have to eat every 3 hours. You got your fat telling you to eat every 3 hours, right? You got all the bodybuilding people doing 7 meals a day with all their meal prepping and shit. So we're all eating all the time. We're all digesting all the time. You're always heavy all the time. You don't have hunger. People want to lose weight, and what they search up. How can I lose weight without feeling hungry, without starving, without feeling uncomfortable with the calorie deficit that's making my weight actually go down? And it's like, that's absolutely crazy. How I'm gonna cut a tree. Can I cut the tree without cutting the tree? Right? Can I reduce the mass of this tree without cutting it? And it's like, what? Of course you fucking can't. Why do you think it's the same thing for weight, for body weight, right? So we lost, everything is so comfortable. And I think a big part, if you when you look at the diet of the gladiators, let's go back to the title of the video, the gladiators in the Coliseum, ancient Rome. You look at their diet, you look at their routines, and like, how the fuck were those guys able to do that? Why would they do that, right? They ate like, they barely had any meat because, you know, meat was fucking expensive, and at the end of the day, those guys are like, you know, slaves. So they barely had meat, barely had their you know, the protein. That they didn't have 7 meals a day. They trained like fucking crazy. They lifted heavy weights. They were like fucking murder machines, trained in combat to go into an arena, entertain people, and fight. They were like the modern day. So I've went deep into that shit. Like the Coliseum, the gladiator fights, they were, we can consider them a mix between WWE and MMA. They were somewhat scripted, and there was somewhat a spectacle thing of, you know, the furs and the animals and looking good and entertaining the population, but they were also actual fighting sports. People could die, people could get seriously hurt. It was an actual fighting sport. So those guys, they had to be absolute killers, absolute beasts, peak condition. How do they do that? Well, they had some things. People back in the day, they had some things that we completely lacked because everything became very comfortable. They had hunger, they probably had boredom, and they had horniness. I think those are the 3 big forces that can make a man move forward. You know what I mean? Hunger, horniness, and boredom. When you're hungry, imagine your ancestors. They were hungry. Like, you can't DoorDash. You have to go out and get the food yourself. This meat is a little bit too bland. I wanted to season this chicken. I want more flavor in this chicken. I am tired of eating the same thing over and over again. What did you have to do? Get into a fucking ship, sail across half the fucking globe to get seasoning. So it's like, of fucking course they did that shit. It's like, of course those guys were built different. All on that hunger. It's like, I want to be able to enjoy more of this thing. I am hungry. I feel light, sharp, ready to go. Horniness, same thing, man. The guys were horny as hell. They couldn't go to the hub. They couldn't go to X to see OnlyFans models. They had to go out and conquer, to go out and get the girl, get a wife, build a family. This energy wasn't being wasted usually on, you know, all those things, like the hunger, the horniness, being bored as hell. It's like, imagine those guys, they were slaves. When they were not training, like you can't train and, you know, lift weights, fight, and eat for 24 hours of your day. So those guys, they probably had big chunks of time that they were doing fucking nothing. And when they were doing nothing, what were they thinking about? They were just bored. What were they thinking about? What were they talking about? They were probably just shooting their shit. They were thinking about the fights. They were thinking about the moves. They were resting. They were, you know, contemplating nature, maybe reading something. I don't know. I have no idea. They were watching other people train to get some insights. It's like, those 3 things, we can solve them so easily nowadays, all the time. And you don't have to be exceptional to do that. You can be like your average random person on the street. Could have their belly full, have their balls empty, and be constantly stimulated. And that creates a category of people that just don't have that drive to move forward. That's why I think retard maxing became so famous. That's why I think all those movements of like, just stop thinking and go on side quests and start doing stuff and stop reading. Don't worry about the books. Just like do stuff, do cool shit, get hobbies and everything. This whole thing is because people are so complacent of not having this discomfort. Hunger, horniness, and boredom, they are really fucking uncomfortable. They are extremely uncomfortable. They should be uncomfortable, because if they're not uncomfortable enough, you're not gonna do anything with it. Like when you have this like sexual energy, you just want to get rid of it, because it gets to your brain. You get agitated. Everyone's working fucking desk jobs nowadays, right? So you can even use that energy. You can move your body, anything. It's just your mind working, because there's no place for that to escape. There's no adventure to get into. There's no new land to conquer. There's no big war to fight. At least for now. Let's see how that goes. So the drive, that energy, that discomfort is what makes people look outside of themselves. And that's very, very important, because nothing meaningful that you do is going to be looking inside yourself. People look inside themselves too much. That's why the overthinking, the anxiety, is just people looking to themselves to try to solve their own problems. Oh, happiness doesn't come from things and from other people. Happiness comes from within. I think that's the biggest fucking bullshit that you can imagine. If you are there and you are complacent, have all your needs satisfied, you're always with your belly full, you never let that horniness build up, you're never bored, you're just looking to satisfy yourself and to find the happiness within yourself, that doesn't exist, man. The actual happiness comes when you do something outside of yourself that is preferably done to the service of other people or to the glory of God. When you create art, when you do music, when you sacrifice yourself for your family, when you raise children, when you fight for someone else, when you just do something for the sake of doing it outside of yourself, you actually get happy, right? You can actually only do something meaningful if you're looking outside of yourself, and you can only look outside of yourself if you are uncomfortable enough that you don't really want to think about how uncomfortable you are. I don't know if that makes any sense. It's like, you're hungry, that's uncomfortable. The more I look into myself, the more I notice how uncomfortable I am with the fact that I'm hungry. Therefore, I should look outside of myself, and I should do something cool, and I should do something meaningful that I actually want to do, because that will allow me to forget the fact that I am hungry. And maybe by doing that cool thing, by doing the thing outside of myself, I can get some food and satisfy my own hunger. But here's the magic. Here's the magic about horniness, about hunger, and about boredom. Doesn't matter how much you get it. Doesn't matter how much food you eat at one time. It doesn't matter how many women you sleep with in like a single night. It doesn't matter how much stimulus you can plug into yourself at an exact point in time. Tomorrow, you're going to be hungry, bored, and horny. So it's almost like this constant need exists to push us forward. Like, you can never satisfy it. Therefore, you need to always be looking at it outside of yourself and doing things so you can feel that void. And that's why I think fasting and pull-ups will make you feel like a Coliseum champion, because it's the ultimate test of reality. Takes you out of your head, puts you in the world where you can actually do shit and actually, create meaningful things. You hone that hunger, that horniness, the boredom. You hunger those. Like, if you only do basic calisthenics, you're gonna get bored of the workouts. Maybe eventually you're gonna get bored of doing the same movement. You're gonna start craving some novelty. What do you do when you do that, man? You do the same movements better. You put more weight. You do a little different variation. Why? And that builds you up, and that makes you feel stronger, better, more confident, sexier. So when we look at things that way, man, it's really easy to understand why they saw fasting as a human necessity, the same way that they saw food as a human necessity, the same way they saw physical exercise, physical activity, manual labor as a human necessity. Because those things, those cravings, they're always coming back as of a reminder that everything is cyclical. You have a cycle. The cycle that exists is not meant to be fulfilled. You're not meant to ever be like not hungry anymore. Maybe in heaven, but I don't know about that. I haven't been there yet. God wills I will one day. But you're never gonna get to a point where you don't feel any more horniness. Even when you're old and your body doesn't work, it's like a mental, like a like an intellectual horniness. You still kind of want things in the world. I love the image of the horny old man like Jiraiya from Naruto. Like, you know, the dirty old man is an old man that hasn't lost his drive, that hasn't lost his energy to create. That's why everyone loves those characters, because they are dirty motherfuckers, they are little perverts, but they are doing shit. You know, they're creating meaningful things in the world and not only looking at themselves and the fact that they're old and they don't work as much as they used to before. Right? So that's the idea that I wanted to share today. Check out the link in the description. If there's any link in the description, I'm not sure if that's going to be out when you guys are watching the video. And fasting and pull-ups. See you next time. God bless.